العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وقدوتنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam, first we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once again. Allah has granted us the tawfiq and the ability to perform the Maghrieb Salaah with Jama'ah. Alhamdulillah. We make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our Salah with Jama'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us sincerity and istiqamah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الرَّجُلْ يَعْتَادُ الْمَسَاجِدِ فَاشْهَدُوا لَهُ بِالْإِيمَانِ. That indeed when you see a person regularly attending the house of Allah, performing Salah in the masjid, that bear witness that it is a person of true Iman. So we make dua, Allah make us of those with true Iman. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. Last week we have discussed the chapter where Imam Suyuti rahimahullah, he speaks at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. There's not a person in this dunya that's alive that knows where he will be buried. No one in this dunya, we can have the desire that we want to be buried somewhere, or we can make arrangement to be buried somewhere, but if Allah wills different, then there's no say for us. Then it is the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we will be buried. That is in the knowledge and the secret knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we mentioned and discussed it. Imam Suyuti rahimahullah mentioned the ayah of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مِمَّا خَلَقَنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. That indeed we have created insan, mankind from this earth, and one day he will return to it, and one day he will be resurrected from it again. And Imam Suyuti rahimahullah speaking, bringing narration from Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is speaking about then when a person, wherever he is buried in this dunya, wherever Allah has decreed for him to be buried, he was created from that specific type of soil. He was created from that specific type of soil, and there he will return one day. And we made the example of our beloved Sheikh Shamil rahimahullah, that even though he grew up and he spent his life in Port Elizabeth, it is such that he was created from the soil of Medina. And that's why he returned to the soil of Medina. And likewise, many other examples also. People who grew up in other countries, but they are buried here, or they grew up here and buried in other countries as well. So this is in the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah has decreed, is in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one has this knowledge but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The important thing, we make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes us in a condition which Allah is pleased with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants our qabr, our grave, to be a garden of Jannah. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. And this evening, Imam Suyuti rahimahullah, he speaks about the ibtila' هذه الأمة في قبورها. Some of the challenges and some of the things that we will go through, or we as a ummah will experience in our graves. And he brings a narration, Imam al-Bayhaqi, Imam Ahmad narrate, that it is mentioned that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam يقول إن هذه الأمة تبتلى في قبورها. That indeed this ummah will also go through some challenge in the grave. فإذا أدخل المؤمن قبره, when a mu'min has entered his grave, وتولى عنه أصحابه, and now the family, those who attended the janazah, they all are now turning around and they're leaving. That's why Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructs us, when you attend a janazah, the deceased can hear the last person's footsteps as they leave the maqbarah. And many a time we find when we attend the janazah, the last people to be around the deceased is the family members, the father, the brothers, or the children. They're the last ones to leave. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructs us at that moment, and make dua for thibat, and make dua for steadfastness for your companion and forgiveness. Because as soon as the last person leaves the grave, that is the time when the person will be questioned by the malaika. And then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, جاء ملك شديد الانتهار. A malak will appear, a malak will come to the person. And this angel will be someone who Allah has appointed. They will be of those who will be questioning the deceased in his grave. فيقول ما كنت تقول في هذا الرجل. And here in this specific narration, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that what will be some of the things that they will be questioned regarding in this grave. And the hadith mentioned, it will be asked to the deceased person that what do you think of this person? What is your opinion regarding this man? And this man obviously refers to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the mu'min, the hadith mentioned, in the narration mentioned, when it's a believing, a strong person with true iman. And here the ulama has mentioned what is meant by this question. Some ulama has mentioned either an image will be shown of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the deceased. An image of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be shown to him. And when I read that particular explanation, I was thinking those when we were discussing the Shama'il of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Shama'il Muhammadiyah, when we spoke about the characteristics of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for those who attended, I'm sure if a photo had to be posted or a photo had to be shown to us, and if we can remember what we've done, we will easily recognize certain features in the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah make us of those who will recognize. If it is a image of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we will recognize our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why it's important to learn about it. That might be the wisdom why Allah has preserved the characteristics of Rasulullah, so we don't have an excuse on the day of Qiyamah. We don't have an excuse in the qabr to say that, Ya Rasul, Ya Allah, there was no description. How is it possible for me to know? Where every detail we spoke about, the slits in the teeth of Rasulullah, the color of the eyes of Rasulullah, the type of hair of Rasulullah, the curl in the hair of Rasulullah, the color of the skin of Rasulullah, the beard and the amount of grey hair on the beard of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the forehead of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the neck of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the shoulders of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the length, the feet, everything we've discussed in detail. So this must be one of the wisdoms why Allah has preserved the imagery of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the characteristics of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some ulama have mentioned that what is meant by this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will lift up the veils between the deceased and the qabr of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And some have mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, when that person will be asked this question, the knowledge of Rasulullah and that is in his heart, or the connection he held with Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the importance Rasulullah holds in his heart, that will give that person the ability to recognize. So nevertheless, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam we will be questioned regarding Rasulullah sallallahu, who he is. And then if it is true believer, Rasul sallallahu, فَيَقُولُ الْمُؤْمِنُ أَقُولُ إِنَّهُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَعَبْدُهُ. You will immediately say that this is the Prophet of Allah, the servant of Allah. فَيَقُولُ لَهُ الْمَلَكُ انظُرْ إِلَى مَقْعَدِكَ الَّذِي كَانَ مِنَ النَّارِ. And then the Malak will now address this person, and the Malak will say to this person that, O servant of Allah, look at that place in the fire of Jahannam which Allah has prepared for you. Allah has prepared for you a place in the fire of Jahannam. قَدْ أَنْجَاكَ اللَّهُ مِنْ. That now that you have answered correctly, Allah has safeguarded you and protected you from the fire of Jahannam. وَأَبْدَلَكَ مَقْعَدَكَ الَّذِي تُرَى مِنَ النَّارِ مَقْعَدَكَ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will now replace that abode which was in Jahannam for you. Allah will safeguard you from it, and Allah will replace it from an abode in Jannah. So Allah will grant you an abode in a Jannah. You will see this Jannah in your grave, says Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you will see both of them. And some narration mentions that when we're in our grave, we will see, for those who are successful in the grave, when they look at the place which Allah has prepared for them in fire of Jahannam, and when they realize that Allah safeguarded me from it, it will be a means of showing gratitude to Allah. And for the other person who is unsuccessful, he will also have a place of Jannah. He will also be shown his place in Jannah if he were to be successful. And when he looks at the place of Jannah, it will be like a form of adhab and punishment for him, because we can imagine the amount of regret that will be in his heart whenever he looks at Jannah, and when he sees that this could have been mine, and look at what Allah has given to me because of what I've done in this dunya. So may Allah grant us to be from those who will attain the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the hadith mentioned beautifully, that person will say, فَيَقُولُ الْمُؤْمِنُ دَعُونِي أُبَشِّرُ أَهْلِي فَيَقُولُ لَهُ أُسْكُنْ. And then this person will say that, can you give me a free moment? I just want to go and to give my family the great tidings of what I've received from Allah. Imagine at that moment, as the hadith mentioned, and this happens also on the day of Qiyamah. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا وينقلب إلى أهله مسرورا. When he receives his book in his right hand, he will become overfilled with happiness, and he wants to share the news with his family. The family that Mufassirun mentioned can either be your family who is successful also in this dunya, or it can be the Hur, the family of Jannah that's awaiting you. So in any case, that person will want to share the news with his family members. And likewise, when he is in his grave, and he finds that Allah is rewarding him with Jannah, he also wants to share the goodness and the great news. And they will tell him that, relax, you are now in this place, there is no way out for you. This is your new home. This is where you are now staying until the day of Qiyamah. And so, my beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, we make dua, Allah grant us with those that when we enter our graves and we are shown our place in Jannah and Jahannam, that we be of those who Allah will replace our place in Jahannam with the place of Jannah. Allah grant our graves to be from the gardens of Jannah, and make us of those when we are questioned in our grave, when we are questioned regarding Rasulullah, regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding the deen that we have followed, regarding the qibla that we faced, that we should ask Allah, that we should question and answer these questions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we pass the test, that we can be of those who will be successful. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the fiqh and understanding. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.